Hello friends, and welcome to jwreasoning.com. Recently I was speaking to a Jehovah's Witness brother who doesn't know what my background is. We were just speaking, I had met him somewhere, and I had asked him a couple of questions about his beliefs and about the organization, just to kind of challenge him and see if he really knew why he believed what he believed. And one of the things that he was talking about was God's Spirit and how he knows that God's Spirit is with the Jehovah's Witness organization. So my question to him was, how do you know that? What do you gauge this by? How do you gauge God's Spirit being with the organization? And his answer was the stock witness answer. And you probably already know what he's going to say. He said, well, the very fact that no matter where you go on earth, if you were to tune in to a Jehovah's Witness meeting or go to the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, which they're not doing now, he said, everywhere you go, you would learn the same things and you would get the same information. And it doesn't matter if you're in the United States or in Japan or in Europe, it doesn't matter where on the globe you go, the information will be the same. And I thought for a moment, and I've thought about this many times, and I asked him this question. I said, how is that proof of God's Spirit? He said, well, God is always going to teach his people the exact same things. And I have to agree. God is going to teach his people to know the truth of the Bible. If we study the Bible and we have God's Spirit, we're going to draw the same conclusions. But as I've said before, the difference is, are we allowing God's Spirit to direct us, or are we allowing an organization to steer us? Are we being directed by God's Spirit, or are we allowing an organization to push us in the direction we need to go? So my question to him was this. So you're telling me, of course I knew the answer, you're telling me that if I go to a congregation across this country from where I am in Virginia, if I go to California, I'm going to get the exact same study that I would have if I go to your church today here? And he says, yes, it's going to be the exact same information. And I said, so what if that congregation out there, if that particular congregation needs something different than what this one does? Because a congregation in another part of the country or another part of the world may need something completely different than what my local congregation needs. And I could tell that he stammered a bit. He wasn't sure quite how to answer that. And he says, well, we have a part that we call local needs that allows us to be able to address that. I said, oh, you do that every week? Well, no, it's just once a month. And I said, so in other words, once a month, the congregation gets to hear something about local needs. Well, little did he know is that I know that that's only about a 10 to 20 minute part. So really, how is it that God's Spirit is directing this organization? Why is it that a congregation here in the state that I live in, Virginia, needs the exact same thing that somebody in Europe needs, or somebody in Japan needs, or somebody in China needs, or somebody in California in the United States needs? You know, each congregation is different. And while they try to keep the personality identical, each congregation has a different personality, and every congregation has a different set of circumstances with different problems. But see, what they do is they allow that to be handled by the local brothers behind closed doors, instead of allowing God's Spirit to work with the congregation as a whole. So my suggestion is, for him was, well, read Galatians 5:22 and 23, and that will tell you if that organization has God's Spirit. And here it is. Let's just read it together. Galatians 5, verses 22 and 23. The Apostle Paul says, on the other hand, the fruit of the Spirit is love. Let's stop. Does the organization have love? Well, yeah, I think among themselves, many of them do. But is it true love? Is it the love that Christ gives? Is it agape love? Is it a self-sacrificing love? Or is it just love on the surface? We'll tolerate you as long as you believe what we believe. Well, the next one is joy. Are Jehovah's Witnesses truly a joyful people? Are they really happy? Do they really feel joy in their heart? The next one is peace. Do they truly have peace in their hearts? Is this really what Jehovah's Witnesses have? The next one is patience. Are Jehovah's Witnesses truly patient people? I want the new system now. I want it to come now. I'm very impatient. And these fruitages of the Spirit, I need to work on. I'll be the first to tell you. And some of them I can exercise a little easier than others. But this is a work in progress for me. But look at the organization as a whole. Do they love? Do they have joy? Do they have peace? Do they have patience? Are they kind? Oh, they love bomb you when you go to the Kingdom Hall, of course. But are they kind to those who, like myself, I believe something different. I've committed no moral crime, yet I believe something different. Are they showing kindness to me? One of the fruitages of the Spirit. Or do they hate me? As the Watchtower says, we should hate those who aren't doing the will of Jehovah. The next one is goodness. Well, I think that a lot of witnesses, for the most part, really try hard. I believe that most witnesses try hard to exercise these things. The next one is faith. Yes, Jehovah's Witnesses, it seems, have tremendous faith. But where is that faith? Is that faith in the Father and the Son? Or is that faith in the organization? A Jehovah's Witness is first and foremost a Jehovah's Witness. If you ask them if they're Christian, they'll say, yes, I'm a Christian. But they're a Jehovah's Witness before they're anything else. That's how they're identified. Their faith is in the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not in Jesus Christ and His Father, Jehovah. Next, you have mildness. And I would say that Jehovah's Witnesses overall seem to be a very mild people. And they do seem joyful. And I was happy when I was a witness. But I've never been happier than I am right now. The next one is self-control. And yes, I think the witnesses exercise the self-control very well. They're a very moral people. Overall, Jehovah's Witnesses are probably among some of the most moral people on the earth. But some of that is strictly from fear. Some of it is from fear of being caught. You see, but if you truly have God's Spirit, it casts out the fear. You don't have to worry about the fear. It's not something, you're not afraid because, I better do this or God's going to destroy me at the end. No, perfect love casts out fear. That's what the Bible tells us. So then, again, look at what it says. Let's look at those again. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, mildness, self-control. Does this sound like Jehovah's Witnesses? On the surface, absolutely. And I believe a lot of the brothers and sisters do very well at doing this. But is it superficial or is it real? Does it come because they're serving an organization or because they truly want to please the Father and Son? Where do you stand? Do you want to follow the Bible or do you want to follow the Watchtower, those 8 men up in New York that are telling people how to live their lives? So is it an organization that's directed by God's Spirit? It seems that even they, by changing their baptismal vows, have maybe had second thoughts on this. Is it no longer God's Spirit-directed organization? I certainly have questioned that, and that's why I'm not there any longer. Because I believe that there are sincere people there, and you may be one that's trapped. But if you have the fruitage of God's Spirit, you can break free from the organization. Remember, friends, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. The truth is in Christ Jesus. It's not in the organization as being the truth. So think about that for yourself. What is it that shows that the organization has God's Spirit? And have you seen these fruitages of God's Spirit exercised among people of the nations, as the organization would call them, or worldly people, as we were taught in the organization? I've seen people that we would consider worldly people that have these qualities, and to a much more abundant degree than many of our brothers and sisters. And I'm not taking anything away from the personality of the brothers and sisters, but if you truly know Jehovah, if you truly know His Son, Jesus Christ, these things will not be pushed on you. You see, Jesus stands at the door and knocks. That's what we're told in Revelation. He stands at the door and knocks. He doesn't bust the door down and come in and tell you, you better do this or else. No, He draws you to Him. The organization tries that. They deceive you by drawing you in. And then once you're there, you're held captive. What proves that an organization has God's Spirit? Well, I don't believe that there's any organization that truly is God's organization. I believe that there are people that have God's Spirit. There are people who do these things. And those on earth who are Christ's are those who are following Christ and living up to the light that they have as much as possible. And if you're Christ, then you're Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. That's what it tells us in Galatians chapter 3. So friends, keep studying. Remember, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And may Jehovah God and His Son Jesus Christ bless you until we meet again.